We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Elijah Higgins, Miami Dolphins tight end. Focusing a lot on these rookies, especially in these preseason games. You got to see what they can bring to the table. And for, a six-rounder position change to, becoming a tight end, I like what I saw to Higgins. There were some mental mistakes, some things he can improve on. He had like a false start. He had a holding, which was a pretty weak call, so I'm not going to, hold him too much on that. But I think, as a receiver, he showed off some yak potential. This play, nothing too crazy. He gets chipped there. He does a good job getting off of this. He sees Skylar breaking pocket, and he just shows off some football intelligence to find it. And then yak after the catch. I think you need it. As looking at the tight end room and what we had last year, they did not have yards to catch ability with that at that position. And I think this year they're going to use Eazy-E and Higgins in similar types of roles, kind of interchangeable, where Higgins is more of the tight end type and Ezukama is more of the receiver type. But Higgins, I think, brings some value to this offense. And I thought out of the tight ends that played in this game, obviously not Durham Smythe didn't play. Durham Smythe is tight end one. I thought, compared to like Saubert, Croft, Julian Hill, I thought Higgins was the most impressive. So I think he has a chance to really fight for that tight end 2 spot. Obviously still developing, but I think he really could be something valuable to this team because he has a very unique skill set and then nice ability down there to just make some guys miss, pick up those yards after catch. He definitely moves pretty well because, being a former receiver. As a receiver, he wouldn't be the most explosive guy, but as a tight end, pretty solid movement skills. And looking forward to seeing him how he looks for the rest of the preseason. And it was back-to-back plays where he made like an impact. Nice little, play-action boot, get him out into the flat, those types of routes. Got to get your tight ends involved. Dolphins will do this. They do it with their RPO where he becomes that type of guy. Can be just that flat route coming across the formation, split zone usually it looks like, and then it just ends up being the guy into the flat. And last year, these routes did not go very far after the catch, and even just getting it where he doesn't make a guy miss, he just looks way more comfortable after the catch than Gesicki or Smythe do. Smythe isn't like the worst. He's not doesn't have to offer too much, but it was like if Gesicki ever caught this and tried to make someone miss, I did not expect him to gain another yard after being contacted. And I think Higgins will just, maximize it. He catches this and then just gets upfield to pick up a nice little 8-yard gain on first down. That's so much better than what the Dolphins would get. Usually just be like a 3 or 4 yard gain last year. So value brought to the offense, even though he doesn't do anything too crazy on that play. This is the play Higgins gets called for holding, I believe, right here. Getting to the edge, he does a good job sealing his guy off. This is a pretty solid block versus this edge defender. For, a former wide receiver, I was impressed with his run blocking skill. That's where I thought he was at his best in this game, actually. Just getting across, cutting him off here. Like, this guy's pretty much head up, maybe a slight outside shade, but he's able to get to the inside, get his inside leverage, and then hook his hips to get across, allowing this lane to be created for Brooks there. The holding call ends up being called there, but overall, pretty impressed what I saw from Higgins on this rep. Good feet, good footwork. Good hand usage. See how he sort of resets that hand? The right hand's a little higher up there, but he resets it underneath, which allows him to get good hand placement to allow him to hook underneath and get his hips where he needs to be. Good positioning and leverage. So impressive run block rep from Higgins. This is the play where Eazy-E had this impressive run block rep. Higgins also had a very nice rep where he finished on this play, ending up with his guy on the ground as well. Pretty solid rep on the backside of this flow on this outside zone. He kind of has to reach and block his guy. The defensive end does actually a pretty good job feeling flow quickly. He gets out of his stance, but Higgins also showing off some lateral quickness to stick with this, get across. He has good hand placement, good hips, good leg drive, and his guy ends up on the ground, but just a pretty solid rep to stick with this. Could have been a little bit better if he was able to hook him a little bit more to reach and block off this angle, but it could have been a pretty big play because he holds him just long enough to where Chris Brooks got past him and then he ran into these guys, but could have been a huge run potentially. But overall, decent rep there from Higgins. Obviously, a little bit overshined by the amazing Eazy-E rep. Here's a decent rep, just running a route down the field, working down this seam. I like that he just builds up momentum and he just bullies this poor DB. That's why I can see him as a little bit of a mismatch versus some safeties, especially some undersized guys, because, he has that experience playing receiver. He just gets downhill in a hurry, wastes no time, not doing anything cute, trying to set up this route. He just buries into him, kind of changes up his route at the last second so he just doesn't push him over. And the guy gets caught flat-footed. He gets over the top. If the ball, comes out to him, it would have been a huge play, but still pretty impressive to see him work down the seam, bullying some DBs in these preseason games. He looked the part for sure and definitely looked like he stood out compared to, a lot of the lower level players who won't make rosters. So I think, to me, Higgins in this game showed that he has a very good chance to be on that final roster and potentially, get some playing time in that tight end room, which isn't the strongest room on the roster. So we'll see how it plays out. Higgins did play some fullback in this game. Didn't have too much success there, but here out of shotgun, used as like running a route. I kind of like that versatility brought. Don't want to see him as like a lead blocker. I don't think that's his strength, but I do like what I see here. Getting him out. Possibly this could get him lined up with some linebackers out in space, which is helpful. Getting him running the option route. Pretty efficient route, nothing too crazy. And then Skylar escapes out of the pocket. He sees he's going to run. He's ready to, get the ball thrown to him, but then he just turns around, helps lead block out in space. This is a pretty good rep, squaring him up, holds on to him long enough to allow Skylar to reach the edge. Last play breakdown for Elijah Higgins is one of my favorite run block reps of his because we get to see him blocking on the move, kick a guy out. Very impressive to block out in space. Not always easier for tight ends on these types of concepts. I always see them whiff all the time. I've watched a lot of film on, and he's going to have to do this a lot in this Dolphins offense. A lot of motion. Be that move tight end. They're trying to, time this up with the guard pulling on the gap scheme run. Where Jones pulls out into space and he blocks this guy out, and then Higgins is able to kick his guy out on the edge. Pretty good job. He comes under control, knows he has his time just based on the timing of the concept, and he squares him up, wide base. Everything's pretty nice here. He extends the arms, the hips, and he's got good placement, just good positioning and leverage. Sometimes you don't need to be, he's not the most powerful blocker, you don't need the most powerful guy. You should be able to seal off, understand where you're supposed to go, and then help create those run lanes. Because now see what Jones and Higgins both do. They both turn their back and give Brooks that lane to work through, and then meet a DB one-on-one in space, and he gets a nice 10-yard gain. So love the run blocking. Run blocking was really, really good in this game from Elijah Higgins, better than I thought it would be. And then I just want to see more yak opportunities for him, I think, in these next two preseason games. Obviously, maybe some route running where he can actually show off some route running prowess. I don't think he's the greatest route runner, but I think, I want to see him make a play at the catch point in like a contested situation, get an opportunity there, some opportunities to run some routes, and see if he can bring some more yard after catch opportunities to this offense, because that desperately needs it at the tight end position. Look at like the Niners offense for the standard of what you could see with what George Kittle brings to that offense, and how much, like, if they didn't get that yak from George Kittle, their offense would, be not as efficient. And I think that's really how you could take this offense to the next level, is getting more yards after catch from guys like Higgins, Eazy-E, because Waddle and Hill are constantly pushing vertical down the field, creating so much space for these types of players to have these opportunities. So really looking forward to seeing how Higgins is used for the rest of the preseason and possibly into the season if he earns those reps. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.